And what a bonanza we have had here at the Super Series. The live lounge in Portsmouth has been lit up, and it's the fiery Scot, Stephen Johnstone, that leads the way going into day two.
Jumps at the ball for a biggie. Game shot.
Good morning and welcome to Portsmouth. It was a group that promised a lot, and boy did it deliver on day one. Big names meant big averages and big performances, and that was exactly what we saw.
Yeah, the standard was excellent yesterday.
It was a fantastic day. But the player at the top of the pile is Stephen Johnstone, the ADC qualifier from Falkirk in Scotland. We've seen him here before, played some real good stuff, but he improved from that previous appearance last year.
Yeah, he seems to have done. I think his mean level of play was very impressive. But what I was really impressed with was the amount of confidence he was showing on the stage. The celebration you've just seen where he's putting the arms to the side, you don't do that unless you're feeling good. His preparation in coming here early, I think, has paid off really well with a good start, but now he has to keep it going. Tend to focus on position at this early stage. You don't have to dominate on day one to have a really good Group A campaign, but if you are still in the mix and only one win behind that person at the top, you're firmly in control of your own destiny, because they're going to earmark playing Stephen Johnstone today and making sure that he does not get to something like 16 points overnight.
Stephen Johnstone's gone in from the outside of the 3-1.
Joke yesterday, we've got a feeling it's going to come down to leg difference, this group, which quite easily could.
So Stephen Johnstone, the 35-year-old from Falkirk, playing with the Chunky Stumpies, I think our favourite name of a dart here at the live lounge in Portsmouth. Well, he had a superb first day. It's his first appearance here since April last year, and he's made up for lost time here at the live lounge in Portsmouth, winning 4 out of his 5 matches. And if he continues in that vein, he puts himself in a great position to A, win Group A, or if not, put himself in a position for Group B, which gives you plenty of advantages on Thursday and Friday night.
I think Stephen has a really good outlook into this week. He was speaking to you yesterday at the end of his campaign, where he picked up 4 wins from 5. And I think, speaking to him with the adrenaline still flowing through his veins,
100.
He was giving us an insight into what kind of player he could possibly be. He is aggressive. He is someone who doesn't like to give any inches.
But can Johnstone kick us off with a whopper? Another one of them. The bullseye. To kickstart with the fish! And to kickstart with a real big moment and a real big celebration, Johnstone reels it in. 1-0.
Second leg, it's Stephen to throw first.
What a great first leg that was. Damien's thinking, okay, we're cooking now, we're starting to do something, and that happens. They may have heard that at Fratton Park. In fact, they might have even heard that in Scotland. That was loud. But that's the kind of intensity that comes with Stephen. 60. However, in this setting, it's very hard to maintain that intensity for 5 matches. He must learn how to do that. That's something
60.
that Gerwin Price took seasons to perfect.
This is okay.
135.
Well, let's have a look at the Chunky Stumpies and the way it goes into the ball. Because it's such a bulbous barrel, the size of the bed after the first start, it reduces somewhat, doesn't it?
The one reason that Stephen can still group the darts closer together is because they taper towards the point. At the minute, he is firmly a thorn in the side of Stephen Johnstone. Had he not hit that 170, he could 55. Genuinely be sitting here 3-0 down. He might even be 2-1 up.
120.
Damien Mole's heart would have been in its mouth right there. He must be thinking, what on earth is being hit against him? But he finds himself 2-1 in front.
What do you think the expectation in Stephen's mind was coming into today?
180.
Maybe plenty. I wasn't expecting this level from this game, I'm not going to lie. But this has been superb.
I think Johnstone's the type of player. Now, we mentioned it yesterday where for certain players, they may not get as many cracks at this as others during the course of a calendar year because of their job and in terms of having to book holidays, annual leave, things like that. So I just wonder with Stephen whether he's seeing this as his one big assault, almost like his world championship, if you will. His one real big go at this
180.
tournament, this competition, and he's going hell for leather for it in more ways than one.
Yeah, I suppose you could say it.
180.
That this is a 180 fest now.
81.
But that maximum does not take Damien to a finish. Well, there's a little
48.
insight into Stephen. He didn't need to go for the bullseye, but he still did. We were talking about the lesser seen double 17 yesterday. 33 left is seen even
131,
less,
so you
but
require
it must be
33.
found to level things up.
Game shot on the fourth left.
This is a superb game of
Stephen
darts.
Johnstone.
It deserves to go all the way, just like the first two matches we've seen here on Tuesday.
It's Damien to throw first.
Well, 5 maximums in 4 legs. I'm going to say it now, and I know it means we're going to have another maximum for the rest of the game. But the
60.
record for 180s in a match here of the Super Series is 9. Chris Gilliland against Luke Littler. That, the tail of the tape as far as the scoring power
100.
pack is concerned. And just look at the scoring power from Stephen Johnstone there.
We were talking about Tom Sykes in the previous match, how he hit a barrel load of 140s. Damien's hit none, but he's got 4 maximums.
180.
Right, I was going to say to you, Henry, that I didn't think that record was going to be broken, but there's genuine cause that it might be now. Live next to the coast
99.
here in Portsmouth at the Modus Super Series. We're going flake hunting.
Well, Mole has missed double 9. Johnson wanting 99. Tops.
Game shot
And that's
the
going to
fifth
hurt
left.
Damien Mole. He's
Stephen
being hit with
Johnstone.
haymaker after haymaker here. Stephen Johnston is like a finishing
against
machine at this
Stephen to
present
throw
moment in
first.
time.
Game on.
Well, he obviously does like a flake in it, love. What a wonderful shot that was. And it gave us a little bit of an idea as to how he can stack those darts. He can not only get them underneath,
55.
he can get them over the top as well. I like this guy.
The chunky stumpies are sitting lovely.
Well, if you want to
60.
hashtag that, I think there may be a few people looking for chunky stumpies on Tuesday. Just be careful what you type.
59.
And we've just walked into our 8th maximum of the match.
The record could well be
60.
on if
Amy
Mole
number
takes it all the way to a last
161.
leg. 161 to do that, and he's got 6 to do that. And Dave will be feeling, how on earth is all this
43.
effort not even enough to send us all the way as of yet?
This is balmy stuff. You almost want Damien Mole to take this all the way, so we've got a shot at the
Stephen, you
record.
require
And
8.
Stephen Johnston now could be the first person in Group A to get to double figures in points. 31 points for 10 in the table. Over to you, double 10.
What a
Game
performance.
shot and
What a
the
win
match.
for Stephen Johnston.
Stephen
A
Johnstone.
scoring masterclass and a finishing masterclass for the Scot. And it means that he is the first player on to double figures in this Group A. As for Damien Mole, he will scratch his head as to how he hasn't won that match. An incredible contest, incredible numbers. 8 180s, one off the all-time record. Johnson kick-started the game for 170 finish. He also had a 99 in there as well with a tops. As for Mole, well, he finds himself in an almighty hole. It's up for us. That man, Stephen Johnson, who could put himself 4 points clear at the top of the group temporarily if he can get the better of Daryl Pilgrim. And this could be a pivotal encounter because if he does get the better of Mr. P, he opens up a 6-point gap on the man who still at the beginning of the day went off as the bookmaker's favourite to go and win the group.
Compare with us the statistics of Johnston and Pilgrim
100.
yesterday. Every single metric that Stephen Johnston had yesterday was better than Pilgrim.
96.
Everything. Higher average, better percentage on doubles, more hits at doubles,
30.
more 180s, better individual performance, higher checkout, which has been embellished by the fact he's hit a 170 today already. If you need more proof to say that Stephen is playing better this week than Daryl,
140.
what more could you possibly ask for?
You could argue that Johnstone at 91.55 and 43% is better than anything else because of the sheer consistency of those numbers being attained.
He does that again today. He's going to walk away, in my opinion, with another 6 points minimum. And if you've got 14 going into the last day of a Group A situation,
42.
you've got a really good chance of winning the group. What does it dart players always say? Darts is on the day. Such a cop-out.
So darts is on the day.
Darts can be on the day, depending on how you look at it. I think that is a bit of a weak mindset. I think if your preparation is stringent
140.
and you've got a strong mind, you don't have to say darts is on the day. Darts will be as good as I prepare for it.
34.
Well, it's a compare and contrast game for Stephen Johnstone, who was involved in that absolute cracker against Damien Mole.
60.
8-180s all told. You actually watched that game on the YouTube channel. That's available in full on.
Stephen did seem to have a little bit of a dip from round 1 to round 2. I wonder if that's happening again.
140.
Those chunky stumpies are sometimes a little bit small to retrieve out the board. I don't think they're a kind of dart that
60.
I'd get along with, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of people out there thinking they might suit me. Sounds like someone you would order at a street market in a bun with some coleslaw.
And I just wonder whether the second game lull is because he gets himself so up for game one that there could be a come down, which maybe he then rectifies as the day goes along.
Yeah, physiologically, that makes so much sense. You've got to understand how adrenaline works. When it hits, it's marvellous.
140.
And it can stick around for a little bit of time. But when it dissipates, when it is maybe a 20-minute period after the fact, when it disappears,
46.
it's really hard to get it back. And you can't continually grasp it. Trying to keep it in your system for a period of 4 or 5 hours is impossible. Have you noticed what he's got in his collar? Such a lovely touch. He's got the initials of his dad on there.
81. Stephen,
I absolutely adore that. Double top.
26.
He's going to come back. And if you are coming back, you'd rather come back for tops than tens. You always want to have the primary double instead of any sort of split option.
And he gives Johnstone a reprieve.
Double two. Saves the match for now, and you just never know what could happen from here. If I reference Stephen's flights, do you know what I'm going to say next? They look weathered. Look at these flights that Daryl's got. Now, he may have some sort of contract where he gets them for nothing. But they're pristine. He's giving them every single chance to be delivered the way they want to be delivered. You know how I feel about flights that look like they're past their sell-by date. These flights just look a little bit weathered to me. And when those chunky stumpies are hitting them all the time, they're probably going to take a few whacks. I think players should have fresh flights in at the start of the day and maybe change them once throughout the course. If you're playing well, some of these flights are going to get battered. This is how balmy Group A is here on Tuesday. I think it's going to be fascinating for the rest of the day and into Wednesday.
There's a reason why it's called moving day. Quite a cosmopolitan feel to the day up to press. So those are the results. This is how the table looks as a consequence of it. Stephen Johnstone leads the way. He still has a 2-point lead.
Try and predict where he's going to go for this. We can try. See, I was going to go treble 14.
81. Tommy requires.
We're not always right.
Close, but no cigar as Johnstone takes the opening leg. It's the Scot that leads 1-0. And already a bit more vigour than what we saw in that game
Tom to throw first. Game on.
against Daryl Poole.
Another 180 for Johnstone. We're seeing more today per match than we did yesterday, that's for sure.
So Johnstone back for tops after 12 for a 2-0 lead.
118. Stephen, you require 40.
Well, there was an approach shot that keeps the referee on his toes.
Game shot on the second.
Tom is on his toes, but
Stephen
now he's
Johnstone.
being pushed onto his heels. What is it about
Look
round
at
2 that
Stephen
doesn't
Sutton
agree with
first.
Stephen Johnson?
Game
He averaged 70 in his previous match. In his first game, over 91.
140.
Yesterday, the same pattern. Good in round 1, bad in round 2, but was able to recover for the rest of the day.
140.
We're going to watch out for that tomorrow.
Well, both players here averaging in excess of 103. This has been an incredible contest and what's been another incredible day here in Portsmouth. Johnston is finding himself embroiled in dramas, isn't he?
100.
He had that game against Mole where there was 8 maximums, and now he's involved in another frenzy here against Sykes. And the bullseye for 1-2-1 to add to his glistening collection of finishes. He took out a 170 in that game against Damien Mole. He now finds the 1-2-1 and he leads 3-0, averaging 107.36, which is the equivalent of 314 darters.
45.
Am I right in thinking he's now got 5 bullseye finishes this week?
41.
That's astonishing. It's not even the halfway point of Tuesday. And we're not talking about
58.
idly-piddly finishes on the ball. We're talking about big hits. 161, 170. 121. 83 yesterday.
60.
My word.
Well, he's taken out 1-2-1 both days now as Stephen Johnston. He's now matched his ton plus column to yesterday where
41.
the 1-2-1 was joined by the 1-6-1, as Paul rightly mentioned.
Interestingly, when we had another fairly new Scotsman here in our Southampton studio towards the start,
60.
I nicknamed someone the Punisher because of the way he looked at the board and the way he finished. That was Sean McDonald. I haven't seen a great deal of him
135.
recently. What is it about Stephen Johnston at the minute? He's imposing himself against great players like Tom
140.
Sykes.
Stephen, you record 125.
He's crushing people with shots like this. Really? Another bullseye? I think he was caught out of
86.
rhythm there. Otherwise, he might have hit that.
157.
Almost Littler-esque. Well, the 157 isn't going to go. And to round off,
57.
an incredible performance, an
Stephen,
incredible game.
139.
He's averaged just under 103.5. Double 16. Well, Stephen Johnston is continuing to deliver. 100.2 the average, 60 darts to get the better of Tom Sykes by 4 legs to 0. He really is rallying on Tuesday, isn't he? He had a little bit of a blot in the second match, but either side of it, it's been a sandwich of excellence. A 4-0 win. Intriguing session we've seen so far. It's been a very, very tight session. As far as Stephen Johnston is concerned, he quite literally couldn't have started the day any better or any bigger. The 170 to kickstart his first leg.
Yeah, he's definitely brought the vigour, which is something that we've talked about already today. That was a great finish. And look at that celebration. It's nice to see somebody wanting and receiving something like that and just taking it with both hands. Maybe going from round 1 to round 2 with that kind of spirit is not the right thing to do, though, because whether it's the adrenaline levels or not, we're just speculating, but maybe it's something he has to learn to manage a bit more in the future. But that game he had there was just remarkable. So many 180s, so many great finishes, and I would love to watch it again. And I suppose it's already been put on a YouTube channel, so you can watch it again.
Following 8 rounds of matches for every single player, it's Stephen Johnston that leads
We
the
look
way.
at that table now after 9 matches, we think, well, it's very interesting. However, in 3 matches' time, if we were sitting here again, we might be looking at something very different. The complexion could be completely different. And that's what makes this group so intriguing.
Right, we better get back to business, shouldn't we? Well,
Absolutely.
we will indeed do that. And our next game is going to see 2 ADC qualifiers go toe-to-toe as Jimmy Van Schie takes on Stephen Johnston. Johnston looking to continue his darting dream here in Portsmouth. He just missed out on the finals when he was here last year. He's hoping to go one step qualifying better through the ADC system in Scotland. These 2 are prime products of that particular system and 2 proud products of that particular system as well.
Yeah, it just goes to show you need feeder systems to succeed.
100.
People want to test themselves against fellow ADC qualifiers, whether it's domestic or indeed European.
100.
I'm sure that circuit is going to go global. I'm sure there's an Australian arm of that at the minute. But you also want to test yourself against the cream of the crop at this level. Because it does have a ceiling.
126.
If you're not aware, you cannot have a tour card and play here at the Modus Super Series.
100.
But you can be part of seniors, part of WDF, part of ADC, or indeed an independent player that has got a really big reputation.
139.
Someone like Martin Adams.
Johnstone 1-3-3
105.
to square this game up at 1 apiece. With Van Schie hot on his heels, but Johnston's been the king of the ton toppers so far this week. He's had 4 thus far.
Might even go treble 11 here. It is an option. Although treble 19 comes calling and very, very well. And another
Game
ton
shot
plus
in the
check out.
second leg. Stephen Johnstone.
Absolutely brilliant. Just very, very hard to forecast what kind of handshake he wants,
Game on.
or indeed what he's going to do.
He may well have been hit with a similar Stephen Johnston sucker punch
91.
there.
I don't know about you, Henry, but he looks like the kind of guy who could probably punch his way through a brick wall. Looks like he's made of solid stuff.
140.
Usually at this stage, you can get a feel for the level
60.
of play for the day. We had that feeling yesterday, but when it came to game 10, we went up a notch, didn't we?
Johnston's stolen the darts here in the third. He's not going to back the 1-3-3 up for 1-6-1, but what he is going to do is set up
125.
perfectly to leave a double after 12.
167.
Van Schie's going to have to take out the 1-6-7, otherwise he may be broken. And Johnston doing what he's done a couple of
57.
times today.
Stephen, you require
In a big leg,
36.
applying pressure. But he can't execute on this occasion.
28. Jimmy, you require 110.
And Jimmy's just been on the end of a really nice finish of 133. Can he return the favour with 110? Options. That was one of them. Will double 18 cooperate?
92.
Not again.
Stephen.
Make no mistake, Stephen Johnston is the man who is
Ready,
making him
Stephen to
pay.
throw first. Game on.
Intriguing to see, and he's broken and led 2-1, averaging 91.5, and there's still a shake of the head. This is a man who
60.
expects big, big levels of himself.
I think they all do. You go down the list, and every single player here has got a big A game in them.
54.
But it's not about the A game all the time. Other pundits have sat here and talked about B games and C games and Z games.
140.
How often, realistically, do you play your A game? Not that often. That's like saying, how often does Gerwin Price
140.
average 112 plus on a European tour? Well, he doesn't until yesterday.
100.
So A-game darts is very rare. It's how good your next level is
45.
as to how good your career will be. Think about Littler. What were their B games when they were winning multiple weeks? Probably about 91, 92.
100.
And that's exactly what Johnston's playing towards in terms of an average here. 90.67, 50% on the doubles. And he looks set to move 3-1 in front. Van Schie can only apply pressure, but he is going to do that.
128. Stephen, you
And he is
require
going to
60.
keep Johnston honest on this 60 out.
Yeah, technically, that was brilliant from Jimmy.
Game shot on the
But it makes no
fourth leg.
difference.
Stephen
He's been
Johnston.
closed out by the person who is eyeing up 14 points with a game to spare
Fifth leg, it's
and
Jimmy to
8
throw
points
first. Game
for
on.
2 consecutive days is very, very possible. If he beats this fella,
95.
and if he can take care of Rhys Colley in game 14, he is guaranteed to be top of the table going into the final day tomorrow.
100.
To put it in perspective, they took a whole number off his odds from day 1 to day 2. He was 33 to 1
60.
to win the group on day 1. He was 3 to 1 yesterday, and he was 3 to 1 today, and he was still third favourite.
60.
So he was 33 to 1 to win the week.
To win the group.
What was he to win the week?
100.
40 to 1 at the beginning of play yesterday. Stephen Johnson was to win this week.
Someone's definitely had a shilling on
Set
that.
up play in this game has been fairly good for him, but he hasn't been able to have any opportunities. Now Johnson has the darts to seal it.
81.
Well, Ski here has got the opportunity to level up. He's got 6 darts on 2-2-1 to do exactly that. And just when we thought Stephen Johnson could well be a matter of moments away from crossing the finishing post, it may well be reeled in towards the final fence.
Well, what would you rather have? 180 with the darts right now or 161?
60.
Personally, I'd rather have the 180.
Jimmy require 161.
I think most people would say that. The odds state you're more likely to take 180 in 6 than 161 in 3.
So Stephen Johnson looking to climb the ladder now towards success. Climb the ladder
63.
towards
Jimmy
victory.
require 120.
Climb the ladder against the man who was taller than a ladder.
Top rung. Game one in sumptuous style. And Stephen Johnson climbs the ladder towards the summit and is now 4 points clear. He gets the better of Jimmy Van Schie by 4 legs to 2. It's all business for him. Straight back down the tunnel and backstage he goes. 91.97 the average. 4 from 6 on the doubles. That's his second ton plus out of the match. It's his 4th ton plus out of the day. He beats Jimmy Van Schie by 4 legs to 2. And it is Stephen Johnstone that leads the way. He has a 2-point buffer. Stephen Johnstone, he can move himself temporarily 4 points clear at the top of the pack if he can get the better of Rhys Colley. And by doing so, effectively knocking out another 3 horses from the race. For Colley, he would have expected more following his first day's showing, but it hasn't quite been for the Dudley man.
Game on.
He'll hope to finish on a high, but Johnson's just continued in the vein that he left off in day one.
It's been a carbon copy.
140.
Big finishes, spirit, and a terrible second round. Let's face facts.
60.
When you've won 8 points on a Monday, and you go to bed that Monday night, and you think to yourself, well, I'd like more of the same tomorrow.
60.
You don't expect it to follow exactly the same, but that has happened until now. We don't know what Chapter 5 of Tuesday holds
100.
for Steve. Or Stephen, sorry. Oh, that's a good one.
77.
That might have wrecked the flight and the stem. That's another one for the Super Series of Robin Hoods.
Well, the issue he's got is he's got
100.
nothing on the table. There's no spare, so if there is damage, then he's going to have to continue until the game is through.
Well, let's face facts. Both of them need a bit of a telling here. Anything can happen in 7 legs. You could snap a dart, you could snap a point, you could ruin a stem, you could ruin a flight. Take spares.
Taking out ton plus outs has been Johnson's wheelhouse today, and he nearly bended the ball for another. It would have been his 5th of the session.
Rhys Colley's found that small 5 a fair bit today.
44. Stephen required 25.
That is double 8.
21.
He misses multiple chances and wafts it away like a pesky bee.
Well, this would sting if he can pin tops.
96.
And that would have said a lot about the character and
Stephen
resolve of
required
Rhys Colley if after everything's been thrown at him, he could have taken something like that out. But Johnson back for double 2 to win the opening leg.
Game shot in the first leg.
Everything seems to be going his
Stephen
way.
Johnstone.
People seem to be missing darts at double. He's hitting big shots when he needs to. Everything seems to be
Second
aligning
leg, it's Rhys
for
to
Johnston
first.
at this time. I'm going to go back to this equipment issue because anybody who's an aspiring dart player out there who thinks that it's okay to take no spares on
140.
stage or into a game arena, think again. Both players have missed a step here, in my opinion. I once had kippers with Gary Anderson in Shetland. What a lovely breakfast that was.
Why have I got a sick feeling that Johnson may
106.
just take this
Stephen
out?
required 160. Game shot
And that's how 78 checkouts should
Stephen
be.
Johnston.
You ever wondered? Because when you watch top-level darts a lot,
Gets Reese to throw first.
the majority of
Game.
right-handers always seem to point to the left. You ever wondered who they're pointing at? We know that Johnny Clayton points to the camera.
140.
But at the minute, Stephen Johnson, when he's doing something good, he's pointing to the right. The only thing he's pointing at is the stage set, because there's nobody there.
100.
Well, usually players in the PDC are pointing out to the left because that is where their family will be sat. As you watch a walk on, it's to the right of the camera shots.
Yeah, for most players, they've got somebody with them, and they like to point towards those inspirational people. Ever noticed that Robert Thornton used to point high right when he had 180s or hit a big shot? Why is that?
100.
Because his wife Christine used to sit in a completely different position, and he was always pointing at her. Robert Thornton, is he the best player not to have won a week here?
132.
He'd have to be, wouldn't he?
10 appearances, 10 finals, 0 wins. It has to be.
The last thing they need is for Johnstone to get to 16 points overnight. Now, Reese is still very young. There it is.
180.
Pointing to the wall. Lovely. Well done, Wall. And well done, Stephen. Your wish has been granted, Stephen. Another try.
Game shot on the 5th.
And yet another hit puts him
Stephen
within
Johnston.
one leg of being in the lead overnight for the second consecutive day.
Six leg gets Reese to throw first. Game on.
And to take his lead back to 4 points. The dream scenario for Stephen is he wins this game.
His dream return couldn't have got much better.
I think people are starting to take Johnstone seriously. I know I am. I wasn't sure what to expect from him this week,
97.
but I am seriously impressed. And there are plenty of really good players at his level in Scotland.
140.
What have you just done, Stephen? You know that's a schoolboy error, so I'm going to give you an F for maths.
And that's probably the first mistake
59.
we've seen from him, really, in that particular department. There's not much that we've been able to pick up and criticise,
45.
which is a credit to him, because we're
Richard
picking up the
McGuire,
small
120.
minor details. Well, he's had a couple of goes at this 120 today as Reese Colley. He's already missed tops for it. Can he pin it now? He doesn't like the lie or the sit of the first two. Drags below, and how many times has tops dragged below for him today?
Yeah, he couldn't fade it around the tree. Whereas Johnstone does not get a shot at the bullseye, which is a bit of a surprise, really, considering how many chances he's had at it this week.
Well, this, to take us all the way,
Game
and
show
all
the
the way
sixth
we
leg.
go. And credit's got to
Reece
go here
Colley.
to Reece Colley, who has just stuck with it, been embroiled into a real battle with Stephen Johnson, and he has kept himself up with the task. And this is a huge leg incoming. If Colley can win it,
30.
he's back to within 4 points. But if Johnstone wins this leg, then you just begin to get the sense that he's going to put himself in a real privileged position in the group. But Colley kicks off
180.
Max.
Even though today has not been a
26.
great day for Reese, if he was to win this leg, he'd finish on 10 points after a couple of days
100.
and still be only 4 points behind the top spot. That's manageable. I always say going into Wednesday, you want to be within 2 points. 4 points maximum. 6, very unlikely you're going to win the group. However, at this point in time, if he can leave Tuesday with a
140.
really good result, and his leg difference isn't dramatically bad, things are possible
140.
tomorrow.
Richard McGuire, 81.
He's got 6 for the match. He's left 81 after 9 against the throw. He could win it with an 11 darter here by pinning double 12.
57.
But he's going to get more chances.
He's very thankful for that. But he needs to be thankful to himself because he's done everything
140.
right in this
Richard
leg,
McGuire,
apart from
24.
hitting the winning shot, which could be coming now.
Perfect guide. 2 perfect guides. But he can't find it. And Johnstone could nick it right to the death.
Yeah, come on out. We've got you surrounded. And double 12 stays in the house.
Stephen, it requires 69.
If this goes in, Rhys Colley will think he's drinking salted water. This is the biggest shot in Group A to date this week.
The difference between a big lead or being pinned back in
37.
could well be the width of a wire with double 16.
Rhys, you require 12.
Colley now has had a handful of opportunities. Cannot pass any more by. Double 3. At least he's got an open bed to aim at. But he can't
6.
find it. Rhys Colley had the game in his hands and now he may have just lost it.
You're leading a very charmed life, Stephen. Not only have you been good, you've also been reaching into the bag of fortune.
Game shot
Double
on the
16
net.
means that Stephen Johnstone will
Johnstone.
end the day on 16 points. But boy, did he have to work for it in the end against Rhys Colley, who had handfuls of match darts in the last leg to get over the line. He had left a double after 10 darts, but it's Stephen Johnstone who wins it in 19 darts. A 4-3 victory against Chaos, who will be feeling as sick as a chip after that. We were wondering what we were going to see overall in terms of a standard on day 2 after what we saw on Monday, and we were pleasantly surprised as to how good things were.
Yeah, there was a real risk that people couldn't live up to what they did on Monday, but if anything, we saw more grit and determination from Stephen Johnstone. He needed it in certain situations today. I think the only thing that he wasn't able to find out was how to win in round 2, but we'll get onto him in due course. But overall, I think the standard for the first 2 days has been fantastic.
Well, we were wondering whether Stephen Johnstone could continue in the vein of form that he's been in day 1. His finishing today really was a real key towards his success on day 2.
It does seem that that is a strength of his. So when it comes to things like bullseye finishes, of which they don't come much better than that, but that's not the first bullseye finish that he's had this week. He's had quite a few. In fact, we think it's about 5 now. But if you think that's the only thing that's in his armoury, think again. I mean, 133 is a hard out. No deflections, 3 pure darts. And in moments like that, we're starting to look at someone who could definitely win this group with a 4-point advantage.
So Johnston's got that 4-point lead overnight going into the final day's
You don't
play.
necessarily have to have the best in Group A as long as you find it in the secondary group. Johnston's like a granite wall at the minute. He's just proving very, very hard to shift.
Certainly becoming a group of 2 halves. We'll show you the table now and just dissect what we've seen, because it's Johnstone on 16. Stephen Johnstone, the ADC qualifier from Falkirk, has a 4-point lead going into the final day's proceeding.
That's the ball for a biggie. Game shot.